Hello, welcome back to BLENDERSUSHI Live Noding. I wanted to start this longer project. It's basically inspired by Maya paint effects. I want to use grease pencil in Blender to create that kind of paint effects ability to grow and to create kind of flower, plants, or tree. So it's a big project, but we're gonna start from scratch. Okay, let's get started. This is gonna be grease pencil FX 001. Start from the very basic. We're gonna first create a grease pencil on the flat ground. On the next video, I might talk. What if you draw a grease pencil on the surface and then you want to kind of have that surface normal to affect the and influence the paint effects. For now, we're just gonna draw it flat. Okay, so really quickly, I'm gonna go to top view and just gonna draw a grease pencil stroke. Okay, save, convert grease pencil to Bezier. I'm gonna hide it. Now we have this curve, and we know that this is a curve object. Curve object have few advantage. You can actually offset it slightly in the 3D view. So if you want to do that, for now we're just gonna use it in Sverchok like that. Turn on node tree. And in this one we're gonna revisit some of the older concepts like resampling and then how we can instance objects, because Maya paint effects is all about, it's kind of a way you can scatter and instance objects along the curve. This is kind of the basic idea, so we will do the same, and we will do actually more because we are making it from scratch. Get our selection. This is the GP layer or the curve, and we gonna use the viewer draw and then gonna check it out. Okay, by default you get this a lot of points from grease pencil. This is very common, and you want to be able to resample it. And to resample, you use vector interpolation. This is we're gonna use the third one, MK3. Okay, this guy. By default, it's gonna generate points based on this 0 to 1 t value, whatever it is. Normally, so we can use either range float from 0 to 1. This is if you wanna equal distance. You can also use random number generator. So we might actually use switch in this case, switch. So with this guy, float between 0 and 1, we can have, okay, random value. And how many, the count is depending on this guy. So integer. Right away, I create this input value, integer input for this count. Okay, so that's if you want it random, and this is if you want it kind of equal space. So plug that in and plug that in, and this guy goes there, and then we can switch between the two, on off. We have Boolean input, we don't have Boolean input, so we're just gonna use this to change the state, 0 or 1. Okay, and the next we want to do, of course, currently we just you know, like resampling this grease pencil curve, but what we really want is to use the points here to scatter our objects. So for that, we're gonna use this as the matrix in. This is gonna be the position for our objects. Okay, our objects can be anything. For simplicity, you can use cylinder or you can use line. Cylinder, by default, actually cylinder actually grow upwards. If you see here, okay, that's a cylinder. We want it definitely a lot smaller like that, and we want to control the height. So cylinder grows in the z directions, which is good, while the line, actually if we use line grows in the x-axis. And since we don't have control over the axis here, you can use vector out, vector in, and pipe the x into the z, so that now it's going up. You can also use the rotation node, plug in the vertices, plug in that guy there, and then we can just Euler rotate or quaternion, whichever you like. I like it this way, using the which axis? Y-axis. 0, 1, 0. Plug into the axis, rotate it 90 degrees. Something like that. This will work as well. Whichever you like. Actually, keep it simple. Just Euler X, Y, Z and rotate it in the Y minus 90. So that's kind of a once-off job that you can use. So either way, cylinder or line. For now, for simplicity, we can use line first. So a line along this grease pencil. For the line, of course, we have advantage of the sampling of the line itself. We can apply noise into the line if you want. What interesting here is the rotation actually, and the scale if you want to do the scaling. For now we just leave the scale alone, but the rotations might be interesting. We can add like a random vector, plug into the rotation. For example, the count is depending on this guy, and the angle random number generator between minus 180 and 180. The size again back into this guy. So we gotta keep all these parameter or attributes handy. So that can be already useful. Randomize the seed, the scale. So with this random vector, we don't have much control over the directions, but remember that we can just use the axis like this. Let's say we want it to pointing up still in the normal in the z-axis, so we just plug that in, and we can use a vector math, I believe, kind of to randomize this direction. Okay, that seems to work. Okay, yeah, that's working. So you can control this angle, of course. Maybe minus 90 and 90 should be enough. Scaling, control that, and we can still go back and use the random one. So that's starting to look like pen effects in Maya. We're building it from scratch, but this is we can call it grease pencil effects or Sverchok pen effects. So remember, this is gonna source the curve, and this guy sourcing the curve and then goes into the transform objects. It's gonna do the instancing, and we have our line something about line. If you want to make the lines kind of a different length, this is the quirky thing at the moment. We need to use we cannot just plug in the random number generator. It's not gonna work as expected. So this, see the length is not randomized. We don't have variations. We need to do the split thing, list split, and now it should work properly. That's because of the way this data currently being generated. So you can see here, double bracket and then numbers. After the splitting, you have the bracket and then number inside the bracket. So this is how it works for the line. If you want control over the shortest and the longest line, and you can control the seed. If you want to use cylinder, however, plug that in and plug that in. With a cylinder, you can just plug in the random number generator into the height, and it will work right away. You see, it's different length. With the cylinder, to make sure it's we turn off the edge and maybe the points. Just keep the middle part. I think that's kind of nice already. Subdivision, radius top, radius bottom, that's totally up to you. You can play around with it. Maybe smaller radius at the top and bigger at the bottom, so you get this spike. Now we have starting to look more interesting. Yeah, I think that's quite nice. I guess this should be it for the basic. So again, this is the creation of pen effects. This is gonna be like a really long project. Maybe a lot of concepts need to be understood in order to build everything together. But this is the basic one for the first. It's as simple as I could think of. For the next one, we might, like I said, we might have like an object like this, and then if we use a grease pencil and draw it on the surface, something like that. Oops, it's not painting. Okay, it's because I switched it off. Where is the grease pencil? I'll just delete it. Now, okay, that's a little bit better, I think. Should be drawing on the surface. If we draw grease pencil on the surface like this, we will find out how we can use the surface normal to affect our instance objects. Okay, thanks again for tuning in to this live noding video. Any question, suggestion, let me know down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.